Moments in history.
Not
You
just
know,
this album, but the other three to accompany it is very critical. Some people consider this one of the first of many missteps that Kiss did. Um, I am on the polar opposite side of that. I love the solo albums collectively. I love different aspects of them individually, and they created the most iconic images of the band that we've ever seen. They came with some of the coolest merch that we've ever seen. I mean, come on, four posters that you can interlock and put them together. You had to buy all four. It's like Pokemon. You had to catch them all. You had to buy them all. And they wanted you to do that. And I think that they all have their critical things to them and their critical missteps also as well. But I love the solo albums. The Kiss albums is what they called them back in the day. They're like the Kiss albums, get the Kiss albums.
yeah.
Uh, I love but we called them the solo albums. But back in the '70s, we called them. I remember being a kid. Did you get the Kiss albums? Did you get them? And everybody was bringing them in their book bags, all bent, all the hell, bringing the posters in for show and tell. Rick, you would have loved it if you could go back into a time machine. Go back to Miss Horton's fourth grade elementary show and tell. Kids pulling out their Kiss posters and pulling out. You would have loved it, Rick. You would have absolutely loved it. But yeah, it's I think that these albums are very critical uh, to Kiss, even if they were possibly the beginning of the end. And I think they're very critical. Now, coming to Gene's, I think Gene's is critical in a lot of ways because all four albums are critical. You had to have all four. You couldn't have just Gene and Paul make solo albums or just Ace make a solo album or Peter make a solo album because they're tired of Gene and Paul's controlling crap and want to kind of do their own thing for a little bit. You had to have all four of them. And so all four band members had to be made. Uh, Something that wasn't, I don't know if it's been done since, but at the time, I don't think all four band members ever released solo albums all on the same day. I've heard rumors that other bands have done it since, but um, Kiss was the first when it came to it. And, we'll get into individual album discussion as we go on each albums. But just to start this whole series off, I know we're just doing Gene today, but all these albums are critical in my way, and even the ones you hate and don't like and would throw in the trash bin or throw it across the room the first time you listen to it or whatever, they're still all just as critical collectively as a foursome uh, to me. And so that's all I want to talk about for now. I'll let you guys talk about whatever.
Me, I don't, I'm really, I don't, critical to me personally because, it came out the day before my third birthday. Um, and the next to Alive too, the next two albums I got as a kid were the Paul and Peter solo albums. So, it was a very cool moment for me because it's very early on in my life, and I didn't really listen to G one till later on. But yeah, you're onto something there because we're trying to figure out, like, as far as tracks go, criticalness is kind of but as all four, yeah. And now I see it now. I got it now. So very good point, Brent. Yeah, exactly.
I would agree with that. And especially me becoming a fan in the 80s. I was introduced to Kiss via the Gene solo album. But like you said, as all four, we didn't have the internet, so you didn't know what they sounded like. And so when you were buying CDs, and so you want all four of these CDs, no matter what they sound like, you don't know what they sound like. They're all 9.99 super savers. So
Yeah.
you just buy one at a time and you take it home and you're like, I don't I don't really like this, or I absolutely love this. And just that mystery of what they're gonna sound like was such a cool thing. And that's why I think it's so critical to the catalog. It's like you want every record, but you really want all four of these.
Mhm. Good.
Yeah, this record just overall, I mean, it charted the highest 22 on the Billboard charts, even though Ace had the big single with New York Groove. But this album, I came in later than everybody else. Everybody knows that that watches the show. But when I got the remasters, I got Ace's first because I knew New York Groove already. I got Paul's second because he's my favorite. I got Peter's third because I like his voice. And I got Gene's last. And I was telling AJ and Rick before Brand even jumped on, I've listened to this album less out of all four, the less amount. And after listening to it, being with it the last month, it's not as bad as I always think it is. Like there's just a lot going on. It's not so much that the songs are bad. And if they were on Kiss albums, some of these songs could be critical to history in the catalog. But just as the solo album in Gene Simmons, he's got such a vast liking of music. He likes a lot of different things. So coming all together, it's not as cohesive as maybe Ace's and Paul's, but we'll get into that when we get to those albums. But yeah, I mean, the four together, I mean, those are the, like you said, Brant, it's the one of the most iconic images of either each individual or the four put together, like Rick has behind him or beside him, I guess.
Like Voltron.
Kind of he's kind of in the cul-de-sac corner of the wall.
Well, I mean,
there.
just seeing images like this.
Yeah.
I mean, the four of them together is I mean, the artwork themselves and them all just being so collaborated. It was a very collaborated, concerted effort of unity. They all, they all have the same, like if it would have been they all did four solo albums and they all had four different covers and they were themed differently, it wouldn't have had the same impact. It wouldn't have been as enduring to our hearts and become as much a part of our fiber and our being and our Kiss culture. It's that unity and that conformity of all of them being the same, having the same cover, having the same styling on the back, having the same dust cover, having the same styling of merch form, having the poster that you put together with the other posters to make one big poster. It's the fact that, Howard Marks and marketing, the way they did this and the cover art, which is masterpieces, it's like probably the most, to me, it's the most, if you pointed back, if you asked me, okay, look at a point in time in the history and point to the moment, that time frame that is the most iconic of the band, I would take my finger and I would stick it right in between the solo albums and Phantom. And I'd say this right here, the solo albums and Phantom is the most iconic time in history.
And the colors. I mean, without those colors became bigger than the characters almost.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, when you close your eyes and you think of Kiss, like the solo album images is one of, if not the first image you think of. Maybe the gatefold to Alive 2, maybe the Empire State Building picture, but the solo albums is right up there with it.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's very interesting that even though the next time you would see them perform and on the Dynasty tour and see these and hear songs off these albums, they would not have on what is perceived to be the Love Gun costumes. Because if you look at the paintings, Peter's got his, what do you call them, boleros or whatever?
Layers. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gene's got his chain. Paul's got his choker on his neck. Ace has, well, actually, what Ace has on looks more like what he would have had on for Destroyer. The silver with the black.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't look like the and especially with his choker, that to me doesn't really look like what he would have had on during the Love Gun Alive 2 um, tours. But the next time that you saw these guys, there was a period of time. I remember there was a period of time between Double Platinum, the solo albums, and before Dynasty came out. Dynasty was very anticipated. It was the return of Kiss. I mean, right now we hear that and we're like, oh, it was the return of Kiss. No, it really truly was the return of Kiss because there was all the big rumors was flying around that Kiss was going to break up. They just put out 4 solo albums, and some of the solo albums did really good. Like Ace's did really good, and Paul's did really good. Gene and Peter's not so much. And it's like, is the band going to break up? And then there was this period of silence. Remember, you didn't have internet, didn't have, the only thing you got was magazine or television, and you couldn't just get those on demand. You had to wait for something to be delivered to you. It wasn't like the on demand. Let's go Google it and let's go Copilot and let's go search and dig it up or whatever. You couldn't do that. And there was a point in time where we as kids was wondering if Kiss was even coming back because it just kind of almost went silent. And then the next thing you know, you hear these rumblings, the return of Kiss, and it's like, oh, they're not. You started seeing promotional stuff, and they're in black and all black, and it's like, oh, they're going to have new costumes, and people did. So it was like this build up to the return, and then when the first print stuff started coming out with the new costumes on those glorious exaggerated costumes with the capes and
Beautiful.
Peter with the lion heads up on his shoulders and stuff, and it was Paul with his purple thing, his purple jumpsuit with everything just kind of looks like purple teardrops hanging down everywhere off of him. They really then became really like true, larger than life, almost like comic book representations of themselves. It was like not in a bad way, but they were almost imitating themselves at that point. And it's just such a time. And these albums was kind of like what started that. Double Platinum, I
Well,
don't really consider Double Platinum the start of it. I consider the solo albums the start of it.
and if you think about it, like the Dynasty tour, they rose off above those speakers to those colors, you know.
Mhm.
So like if the solo albums didn't exist, kids wouldn't have anticipated those colors. Before they even came out of the stage, you saw those colors and the smoke. And so you knew who was coming up. It would be Gene, Ace, Paul, and Peter. And like that's incredible if you think about the marketing and just the spin of that design.
These colors have been, and check this out, not belaboring this or not, but I mean, this is the segment we're talking about how critical this is. These colors have been infused to each one of these band members so much to the point that I've actually seen on social media where somebody took and they changed the colors behind, like they would have changed Gene's halo of hair to green and changed like Peter's to red and Ace's to like purple and Paul's to like blue. And it gives you the heebie-jeebies seeing it because it ain't right. So you can change this if you yeah, I remember I saw it and it's just like one of those pictures you look at and you're like, ooh, no, that's no, just no, because that's how infused these colors are to us with each one of these, with each one of the members. Like I said, whether you stand on the side as they shouldn't have never done it, they should have put out an album instead, they should have forced through it and did one more album together, or because we've even theorized, we've done it on our show and everybody else has done it. It's like, what if Kiss didn't make a 1978 solo? When they didn't do the solo albums and they made a 1978 album? Let's pick tracks off the albums and come up with an album. And everybody's done it and everything, and that's a really cool thing to think about. It's always fun to think about, how.
I think we do that when we do. Whose are we doing last? Paul or Peter? I can't
Yeah,
remember now. Paul.
Paul's last.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
in that episode maybe we each put a 10 track best
I'm
stuff.
game for it because I always love, and I could tell you, I could do it, and it would be different every time if I didn't look back at a previous list because it would just be basically what I'm jiving on at that particular time. Because I think I've said this in the past, but I listen to the solo albums, every one of them, on an average of about 3 to 4 times a month. Well, how's it smell, Rick?
Like the Revenge tour book.
Now, dang it, Rick. Hold on. You broke my train of thought. Hold on.
We're already sniffing.
Smells like an old bookstore. This is actually in really good shape though. Whoever had this before loved it and took very good care of it. But
Oh wow, yeah, mine too.
I listen to the
Crispy.
solo albums. I usually average listening to the solo albums about once a week. And when I listen to them,
Woo!
like Musty Playboy,
Yeah, that one's right.
when I listen to them in their entirety. I don't start if I can't listen to all four of them. If I don't have enough time to listen to all four, and that's my OCD. I know it is, but I want to be able to listen to all four of them. And I do Gene, Peter, Ace, Paul. That's the order I listen to them in. That's not the release order. The release order is Gene, Ace, Peter, Paul.
Gene and Peter are night. No, Gene and Paul are night records for me.
Night records.
Peter
Yeah.
and Ace can be in the day.
Yeah.
And Peter has to be when it's raining.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Makes
agree.
sense.
I agree. They do have feelings towards them. And to me, Gene and Peter's albums feel more like fall. This is just me. They feel more like fall records, and Ace's and Paul's albums feel more like summer records, like Ace during the day summer, Paul during the night summer.
I did realize last year that Paul and Ace can be winter records too.
Yeah, yeah. But so I listen to them quite a lot.
It seems to me that the solo albums come up a lot, like when I just have my Apple Music on at work or something, and it's just on shuffle. I feel like I get more solo album songs than I get actual Kiss songs, which is weird to me.